Hello everybody, GG here. Welcome back to another video. There's a day 2 model risk of severe weather, 15% hatched, big by the way, 15% hatched tornado probability, 45% sig wind, and 30% sig, a very big by the way, 30% sig hail risk. This moderate risk extends from Oklahoma up into Kansas and also western Missouri. An enhanced risk covers northern Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Kansas. As live risk goes all the way down into central Kansas, northwestern Arkansas, and also Nebraska, getting southwestern Iowa as well. Boys, honestly, after the video that I did earlier today, after the post that I did earlier today, I saw people say that I saw people on Twitter say that they didn't see much problems with the SPC outlook, and I think that this outlook proved my point. That outlook was ridiculous. But apart from that, this is high end SPC outlooks. Like I have never seen, even on a March 31st. I don't remember seeing such extreme language, right? So let's start off here. A summary: several strong to violent tornadoes. The first 5 words of the outlook. Several strong to violent tornadoes, extreme hail, and corridors of widespread wind damage are forecast to over parts of central and southern plains from late Saturday afternoon into the night. Also, they mentioned here in later of the outlook here, in the penultimate outlook here, they did mention, aside from the steeper lapse rate environment near the dry line, metascale conditions will need to be closely monitored for the low-level confluence lines within the deepening moist sector east of the dry line. The cap will not be particularly strong or high off the ground, low FC. Given mid-70s dew points and expected late initiation, this may be a plausible scenario from northwest Texas into central Oklahoma. Only reduced confidence in total storm coverage is precluding a high risk. I don't remember seeing the SPC mention a day 2 high risk. Maybe because I haven't been here for a while. But this is high-end stuff, right? And honestly, I think that just proves the point of my Twitter, my Twitter post. But that is not the point of this video. This video is the point is to inform people. So, also there's a day 3 enhanced, but I'm not going to look at it mainly because it depends heavily on the day 2, how the day 2 outlook plays out, right? So, this is the outlook we done earlier today. Honestly, the one of the most ridiculous convective outlooks that I've ever seen from the SPC. Enhanced risk there, 10% hatched. I mean, let's compare the 10% hatched. Like, just shows how ridiculously bad this outlook was. And honestly, it's hard to say. But I'm not. I've done my bashing on the SPC earlier today on Twitter. Let's go to the model. Starting off here with the HRRR model 12Z HRRR, most recent HRRR one that covers this event. Let's go here into 16D. And now give just a general overview of the setup, right? Differently from the other setups that we had, like May 7th, May 6th, and also April 27th, there's not a very well defined trough until we get into like 0Z, where you can really see the structure of the trough, right, on the ISO lines, but the real look in the wind profile is not that visible. It's not that clear. However, this should already give these short waves here along the ejection of the trough here in western Oklahoma, Kansas, and Texas should already help storm initiation, right? Supposedly the poor convective outlook on 6Z was because of capping concerns, which is an enormous claim, a ridiculous claim, considering models show that. I'll go actually back to 0Z HRRR just to show that. Okay, 0Z triple R, right? 0Z triple R, 12Z triple R. It's not different. Actually, 12Z is a little bit earlier with the drop, but the short waves are there, right? Let me go to 22Z, 22Z here, which is probably when storms could start initiating, and it's quite literally the same profile. So people are focusing so much on the models are not detecting, or some models are, but some aren't, so there's not enough confidence. Simulator reflectivity should not be used to determine exactly, like if like the overview of the setup when thermodynamics should be used, because this is a high-end setup. This setup is the highest ceiling setup we've seen in the entire year, and I say that with very big confidence. So when you have a setup with this high of ceiling, you really cannot have misinformation being spread, which is what is happening. So let's go. Let's take a very quick overview here at the 850 millibar low, and you can see here as we go into 0Z, which is early evening, the strong, right? The already strong, only getting stronger. Remember, this setup will be overnight, right? We'll start on the evening, on the afternoon hours, late afternoon hours, but it will really get going on the evening. So, of course, people will call it a bust, but I want to make it very clear. This setup is not mainly an afternoon setup, right? So, if we look here at the dew points, you can see how impressive thermodynamically wise the setup is. And remember, we're looking at the H triple R. H triple R has issues with overmixing. If we look here at the NAM, if I may look here at the NAM very quick, let's go here, dew points, 0Z, right here. You can see that the moisture layer is as strong, right? Is as strong. I don't know why the NAM, probably the NAM is seeing some sort of boundary here, keeping moisture from going higher up. If we look at the NAM, at the wrap, which has some sort of overmixing issues as well, but way weaker, way less bad than the H triple R. You can see 76 dew points here all over the plains, and also getting into southwestern Missouri and just widespread, right? This moisture will continue as we go into the next setup, which will be on Sunday, but I'm not going to talk about Sunday yet. I'm going to do it at later in the video, right? Continue on here from the HRRR. You can see that this setup is very impressive, and I'm going to take a little bit of a zoom here, looking into the central plains, just to show like this is a very strong warm sector here. This blob here is mainly due to convection and radiant. I'm going to talk about convection later. You can see here very deep, very strong moisture. But if we take a sounding here, the moisture, although okay, that is 100% contaminated. Let me get another sounding here. Hopefully it's not contaminated. Okay, way better to show my point here. So you can see right here, right? A little bit of a capping inversion. This should not be that big of a problem, mainly because storm cloud cover won't be bad, right? Cloud cover will be just enough to like not overmix, but just weak enough for a cap not to be an issue. Mainly because the temperatures are going to be very good. So you can see right here in the lower levels, a little bit of a capping inversion, but also as we get higher into the atmosphere, right, which was something that I also had a little bit of an issue. I don't judge people that saw this as an issue with the setup. We do have quite the thick layer here of dry air, right? So from around 850 millibars to up to 500 millibars, a little bit of a lack of moisture, a very dry air loft. And I initially thought that this could be actually a very big problem, but I don't think it is. Like, not at all. Although it could make a little bit difficult and could maybe get the convection a little bit later. Remembering the convection, the dry line convection is going to be, we're talking about it later. But the moisture will be there for it. So moisture in the areas that actually convect is going to be way better. Robust updrafts can also bring moisture up in the atmosphere. So you can see a little bit of the dry air, not going to be a big problem. And overall, just a very nice setup. Remember, this is not technically speaking. If we look at the latest day 2 outlook, this area wasn't in Lyra's 5% tornado probability. You can see right here, this is a fairly decent setup shear wise. 241 storm velocity lapse rates are pretty good. Cape is also pretty decent. 4,000 joules per kilogram of cape. Now, let's look at the severe instability-wise things. Let's look here at the surface-based cape. Let me go just 2 hours before when there's no connection. And now we get to the problem. With such strong wind, like such a strong 850 millibar low, right? The low jet is going to be very strong. This is the low is actually up here. If we go like 1 to 2Z, which is a little bit into the overnight hours, you can see that the low jet really getting strong. Let me go back. If we go here in 2012 22Z, we'll get what I saw people saying on Twitter, and I completely agree, as a mix of March wind wise and June, because this is June-like temperatures, right? Summer-wise temperatures. Look at this, 5,000 joules per kilogram of cape all over Oklahoma, right? If we're gonna go a little bit later, you can see the cap also increases in Kansas. So you have like 5,500 joules per kilogram of cape. Some models are actually depicting 6,000 joules per kilogram of cape. And we also have like 3,000 to 4,000 all the way up in Kansas. Just shows how insane this environment is. If we look here at the mixed layer cape, it's also insane. Maybe not as insane as the surface-based cape, of course, but I mean, 6,000, 5,000 is not bad at all. Like comparing to the May 6th and April 27th, this is like ridiculous. It's because we, of course, later in the year we are getting closer to summer, right? So we're getting those summer-like instability-wise. But the difference of summer with the summer setups where we don't actually have robust wind profiles, this time we do. If we may look right here at the mixed layer convective inhibition, there's something just along the dry line here, but mainly just both in the surface, right, and in the mixed layer, we have almost no convective inhibition. Let me take us only just barely along the dry line there. And okay, that's a little bit to the dry line. Let me get a little bit more to the east, and you can see where am I getting the worst sounding ever. It's because of the H-lava. We don't talk about that. If we look at it, you can see, okay, this one already is way better for me to explain. So, way less dry air, which would support a even more robust, if it wasn't robust enough, severe tornado setup, right? 331 SRH is not bad at all. It's as I said before, it's March-like wind. So in those setups that we saw in the last few years, like March 17, March 27, March 24, 2023, March 31st, we saw these sorts of SRH coupled with it, but is that sort of wind profile coupled with 5,000 joules per kilogram of cape and 8.8 level lapse rates. This is the most insane environment we've ever seen on this channel, and I can say that with very high confidence. This setup right here has the potential to be the outbreak of the year, and an outbreak that will go down and then stay in history, as James Pan would say. This is a high-end setup. I want people to be weather aware in the setup, because this is a setup that could go down and stay in history. And remember, we are only in the HRRR. We have the NAM to go through. 0Z, right? So around 7 p.m., let's look at the SRH. We have widespread 300 meters squared by second squared, and also 200 widespread as well from Oklahoma to Texas. If we go into the overnight hours, it only gets worse. We have 900. Oh Lord, how did this get an enhanced risk? Actually, this was a Lyris. It was not even in the enhanced. God, this is an insane environment. SRH just widespread from Oklahoma to Texas, 300, 400 here, possibly even locally higher 500s. It's an insane environment. The STB is going to be booming. STB actually was max yesterday. The max STB recorded was 60 on the dam. Now let's go to reflectivity, right? Let's look at the actual convection. So let's go through. You can see pretty much no convection at all, right? Maybe a few cirrus clouds, but only mainly because of locally higher moisture. But as we go on, there's barely no convection, and then as we go into like 11Z, 23Z, we actually get convection ongoing, and you can see here that it's mainly supercellular convection, right? A few more semi-discrete looking supercells, but primarily focused on discrete cells. Also up here in Kansas, you can see that. Why is that the case? And now we look at the bulk shear, right? The bulk shear vectors, the shear vectors. Let's go here, 0Z. And we see almost like not entirely perpendicular to the dry line, because the dry line is more like this, right? Instead of being a perfect right mover, right, which is sometimes seen in these dry lines, it's a little bit more like this, a little bit more like 70 degrees. So looks like a little bit more diagonally speaking. And we have these bulk shear vectors. These shear vectors are around 75 degrees, 60s, 65s, which is highly supportive of discrete convection. As we get in areas with locally higher angles, it's possible that we will end up getting clusters, which probably participated on why the May 6th significant severe weather outbreak played out. So this time it doesn't seem like we're going to have the problem, or that big of a problem with storm splits, right? As the bulk shear vectors are not as perpendicular. They are perpendicular. 60s, 70s is the perfect like sort of angle for not clustering supercells, but still discrete supercells. And this is under that gun. If we look here at the updraft helicity tracks, it gets nasty, if I may say. Yep, it gets nasty. Okay, HRRR done. Let's go to our second model that I want to take a very quick look. We are going to look here at the NAM, right? The NAM model, beautiful NAM that we all love, and And now I'll get to the point that the main point for people that forecast here. The main point forecast-wise of this setup. Simulated reflectivity should not be the main thing you are looking. Because when we look at this setup like we're going to see in the NAM, and see that the NAM actually doesn't convect, at least not shows robust convection, which is normal from the NAM because the NAM has issues with convection. If we base off simulated reflectivity, we're going to see, this doesn't seem like a high-end center at all. It doesn't even convect. But it's the actual environmental analysis that makes us think, it's going to convect, it's not convecting. So the general idea is pretty much the same. We have this trough, these short waves here, which are going to a convection. 850 millibar low, it's even more insane. As we go into the overnight hours, it only gets more insane, if I may say, right? The dew points here are also high-end, right? 74, 75, 77s. A little bit limited because NAM does this sort of stuff. It's something that NAM does. but should also get 60s and 70s maybe over into northern Kansas, right? Let's look here at the surface-based convective inhibition, and you can see pretty much none. Mixed layer convective inhibition, pretty much none. If we take a sounding, there's just a little bit of a cap here, which should be easily broken considering the forcing and the daytime heating. No convection. In Oklahoma, that is. Just shows that simulated reflectivity is not there yet. Of course, convecting alarm models are very important for forecasting, but looking at simulated reflectivity should not be your only thing to look when doing an actual forecast. Surface-based CAPE is even more insane than the H-Polar, just as insane, honestly. 4,000, 5,000 widespread. Both shear vectors are also fairly perpendicular, right? Even more perpendicular than the H-Polar. And the storm relative velocity is just insane, if I may say. 400s, 300s. It's not a surprise at all that we see the SPC mentioning several strong to violent tornadoes being possible and actual like high risk mentions on day 2, just after we had like an enhanced risk. But we also can look here at the we can do the relaxivity and look, wait, there's no convection, bust, which is what people sometimes do. The next model that I want to take a very quick look, mainly because it's a good model for these sort of things, right? It's the only good function that it has. It's the FV3. It's a good model for it's probably the best model for simulated reflectivity in these sort of dryland setups. And surprisingly or not, for some people like me, it convects mainly all over the place, right? Southern Oklahoma, mainly central Oklahoma gets a little bit cleaner, maybe a little bit of a stronger capping version being shown here. Let me see at the convective inhibition. Yeah, it does seem like it's showing a little bit of a stronger convective inhibition, but it should be able to fire, especially with a little bit of a dry line bulge that should be able to develop here. Yeah, you can see a little bit. But the general idea is FV3 convects. Next model that I want to show is the NSSL MPAS. MPAS? I don't know. The general idea is this model is one of the members of the MPAS ensemble, which is honestly the best ensemble and honestly the best model for the best convecting allowing model for severe weather analysis, close range, right? Close and medium range actually, because it goes as far out as day 4. MPAS is just the best model because it's an ensemble for convecting allowing models, and the models are actually good. So by their own are good. They are good together. It creates way better confidence. They've all been convecting all like the entire week, and MPAS continues to convect supercells in Oklahoma and Kansas and all over the place. Just a general idea. We have convection, and then we die off. STP, I mean, if we look at the STP on it's probably the most ridiculous thing we are going to see. The SRH is up in the 600s, which is definitely possible considering this is going to be an overnight event. So I'm going to use MPAS convective composite reflectivity mainly because it's the best available as of right now. So supercell should start developing around the 22Z, 23Z around 5 to 6 p.m. in Kansas, a little bit later in Oklahoma. These cells should be able to quickly get robust, get going, right? In an environment capable of explosive developments, strong to violent tornadoes, and especially here in a large to very large to giant hail up to or bigger than 4 inches in diameter, as mentioned in the SPC outlook. will be possible, right? More cells could actually develop and will probably develop in Oklahoma, considering short wave, strong forcing. Let me see if we look at the other in-pass ensemble models, how do they look? And yep, okay, this goes a little bit quicker into a linear mode because it's just convex, because it's probably has a little bit of a different bulk shear vector. But you can see like just widespread convection. I'm going a little bit more realistic, I think, considering that capping shouldn't be that strong, and just like a few hours, like multiple hours, like of discrete convection, or at least, or maybe even in the worst case for the supercells, semi-discrete supercells. Like just shows how high end this environment actually is. If you look here at MPass RT, which is the third member, there's 5 members actually, but just for timing purposes, it does seem like this one is a little bit more conservative on the actual convection in Oklahoma, but it does convect in northern Kansas, which is certainly interesting. First model to show that, right? So the last model that I want to show is the ARW. What is that? Wow. Okay. Mainly because just because I thought it's a good model to show. It's a model that's sometimes it's decent, sometimes it's a little bit more mid, if I may say. And this is one of those times that we can't look that far. Let me see the okay. Oh, you have to. But yeah, it's one of the models that defended Oklahoma will be clean. Why? Honestly, looking at convective inhibition, I have no explanation. It seems like these models are getting named because they all hate convection. But the general idea of the environment is very supportive of strong supercells, thunderstorms. The cape is insane. Honestly, this is just an insane environment for multiple strong to violent tornadoes, as mentioned in the SPC outlook. So let's do a very quick summary, right? Or for this video, let's wrap up this video for day 2, right? Day 3 video will be done, right? Not now, because I want to be more certain of the capabilities and morning convection and all that, because what happens on what happens tomorrow will directly impact Sunday's event. It's a mess. But the general idea is there's a big MDT risk for severe weather, which does include Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Wichita, and Norman, Oklahoma. A 15% tornado probability, a 15% hash tornado probability is there. Several strong to violent tornadoes, extreme hail bigger than 4 inches in diameter, and quarters with more widespread damaging wind gusts, especially in western Kansas, eastern Kansas, western Missouri, will be also possible. Few pockets of widespread damaging winds. That's it, boys. People that are in Oklahoma, I plead you to take this event seriously. I know that the only thing y'all want is a severe weather break, and to be completely honest with you, that's all I want right now. Late April and May have completely killed me off, right? I'm just sick of it. I'm getting to a point that I'm sick of severe weather. I can't take it anymore. And also it came in also in a very unfortunate timing because of the Brazil floods here, which happened just to myself, and honestly, it's just exhausting. Getting exhausted, and I don't even go to chase these setups. Honestly, the general idea is this is a very high end setup. Sunday could be as high end as well, maybe not as high end, but and also high end setup, depending on morning convection. That's it. Thank you for watching this video. People in Oklahoma, stay in Kansas, take this event seriously. Stay safe. See y'all next time. Hopefully a little bit of better news.